It's time for Ask the Mayor, our regular weekly Thursday program with Beatrice Mayor Stan Wirth. And Stan, you missed the filing deadline for seeking re-election.
You know, I was out of town, and I guess that's why I missed the deadline. Other than that, it was on purpose.
Yeah, and you had spoken long ago that 2 terms would be enough.
Two terms is enough, and I think it's enough for anybody. I think it's time to get new blood and spirit in the office, and I think that's going to be a good thing for our community.
Had a lot of interest in both the mayor's race and the city council races, which is nice to see because that doesn't always happen.
It doesn't always happen. In the last several years, we've just not seen any kind of individual step up in our community to run for the office on any of the offices, which is a real commitment, and both in time and talent. And I just hope that everyone that is putting their name on the ballot have that has that same philosophy that this isn't just a PUD job. You just don't go to the meetings and collect a check. You have to actually set policy.
Yeah. And I'll ask I know we've talked about this before, but since you've been at it for some time, your sage advice on what makes a good mayor or a good council member.
Well, you know, that's a really good question, and I think there are some traits that a mayor or council member has to have, and one is honesty. And I think honesty in character and in judgment is key to any public office that you hold. And I think the person has to be a balanced person that has not just one single agenda in mind, but also has the entire community in mind. You might, as a councilman, represent a particular ward, but you need to also take into consideration the full scope of what is best for the community. I think an elected official needs to be committed to the position, just like I said earlier, in time and talent, and be able to think clearly through the issues that are at hand and determine what is best for our community.
You know, Tuesday night, I think it was, at the NGage meeting, the guest speaker for that got just a little bit into the political side of it at the end by saying, everybody's tired of the division at the upper levels of government in Washington and the bitter type back and forth between parties. But, and I bring that up mainly because one of his statements was the art of compromise. We used to have that, and we need to get back to that.
We need to get back to that.
That's kind of the same at the local level, too, isn't
Absolutely.
it?
And I think we have experienced that. I think we have utilized the art of compromise over the last 7.5 years where we have to. There are times when it's just not possible, but that's really how you get things done. You have one side that pushes one way, you have the other side that pushes the other way, and somewhere along the line you can meet in the middle. Yeah.
Well, we do know one thing. There will be runoffs in both the mayor's race and the primary, and I think the 3rd Ward City Council position.
Correct.
But the 2nd and the 4th, I think, just go on, if I remember right.
Right. Well, the 1st Ward would be one that would go on.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
And I think that's Terry Doyle and John Rosenthal.
That's right.
In Ward 1. Dave Eskra is in Ward 2, Dave Eskra and Harold Mason. And then they'll just go on. Dwayne Rue is a shoo-in because no one is running against Dwayne. Dwayne comes to all the meetings. Yeah. And Dwayne has actually has some experience being on the city council, not in Beatrice, but in another community that he lived in. Obviously, the mayor's race has 4 candidates running for that, and so that will be narrowed down to 2, and those 2 then will go on to the general.
And the 3rd Ward had a lot of interest in it. That'll be a runoff one.
Yeah, there's three running there. Mike McLean, who's president of our city council, Caleb Sabatka, and Paul Fanning.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll see how it all shakes out by the end of next November, and by early December, you'll have a new mayor and a new council.
Yeah, that is correct.
Yeah. One of the issues, subject of a special meeting this past Monday night, was your economic development program. It's called the LB 840 program. Commonly uses city sales tax. Has allowed for up to $250,000 per year, and has been renewed at every 10-year interval Let's talk about, first of all, the interval you're going with this time if voters approved. Is it the same, or is it extended a bit more?
Well, it's actually different. This program has been in effect since 1992, and it is a tool that we use to enhance or incentivize different businesses that are in place today, those that are wanting to start a business, to incentivize them to continue on with their business by doing some type of a low-interest revolving loan fund for them. So that is a bit of assistance. The program has normally had a term of 10 years, and then we will turn around and go back to the voters, and they will decide whether or not we continue that program. Mm-hmm. It started out with a half-cent sales tax. That half-cent sales tax has been in place since 1992, and those dollars are generated and put into a special fund specifically for that revolving loan fund program. We chose this time to up the ante from $250,000 a year to $300,000 a year, just because of inflation and everything else that's going on, but shorten the term to 6 years. And we shortened the term to 6 years, so it would kind of fall into a regular election period, so that we didn't have to have a special election to do this type of a process. Special elections are expensive, and we decided we wanted to avoid that. So that will come before the City Council.
Initially, you were looking at 16, or a possibility of 16
Correct.
years. What led you to kind of drive away from that?
I think because of the possibility of costs increasing over that period of time, inflation accelerating, interest rates accelerating. And so I think it was more decided that we would keep it short term. The dollar amount from $250,000 to $300,000 was kind of a number that was just picked out of the air. The funds today for this program comes out of the electric department. The electric department has reserves. We want them to continue to have reserves just because of what we experienced a little over a year ago in February when we had the polar vortex. And energy prices really skyrocketed in just a couple of days, and it cost us a little over $1 million, but didn't increase rates. Now, getting back to your original question, I kind of veered off, didn't I? But getting back to your original question, I think the shorter term was decided only because we want to see how the change from 250 to 300 works, and if it needs to be changed, in 6 years we can change it.
Back to the electric department beyond the polar vortex of a year ago, it's pretty. They undertake some work too on a regular basis, or at least fairly regular basis, where it's expensive. Like if you have to put in a new substation, or if you have to put in a major transmission line, those projects are usually higher dollar type projects.
They are, and I think have on order a generator that's $750,000. And we don't know that we're going to get that until about November of this year, just depending upon the supply and demand chain that's where everybody's experiencing right now. They have a lot of components to the processes that they go through, but everything that they do is expensive. And so that's why we keep the reserves. I think there has been some criticism because of the reserves that we have, but I would rather have those than go back to the taxpayers and say, hey, we need some more money.
And you've been able to keep down rates for several years.
We have. There hasn't been any increase in electric rates. So that process is working as it should. But again, it's kind of nice to have a savings account.
Before we take a break, maybe just a quick note on something that was brought up at the Board of Public Works meeting yesterday. You have been a member of the Nebraska Municipal Power Pool, and they do kind of a comparison of the members that they have as far as rates and things, whether it's electric, water, and sewer. And not to spend a lot of time on it, but you compare favorably.
Compare really favorably. There has been different surveys done within different communities, and those communities are within the state of Nebraska and outside of the state of Nebraska. And the medium for instance, Summer Electric is $73 per 500 kilowatt hours. Beatrice is $61.50. Mm-hmm. And in the winter hours, in the winter period of time, the average is about $70. We're at $61.50. So we compare very favorably. And when it comes to water rates went up just a little bit, but on a monthly basis, an average increase for the average user has been about $1.02.
Mm-hmm. We expect the spigot to come on pretty soon regarding water, don't we?
There's a lot of people watering their yards today. I mean, as you drive around, and I think it's simply because, look, it's dry. Yeah. And it's unfortunate that it's a situation. I've even saw a pivot running. On some wheat, just because, the poor wheat crop is dry, and when we get 30-mile, 40-mile-an-hour winds, it has a tendency to blow out of the ground when there's no snow cover.
Thing you got to be careful about in residential areas is it can still remain pretty cold overnight, too, so you kind of have to balance, how much you do.
You have to put on your calendar when to turn it on and when to turn it off.
Okay. We'll be back with more with Mayor Stan Wirth on Ask the Mayor in just a moment. You're listening to Ask the Mayor today with Beatrice Mayor Stan Wirth. Board of Public Works meeting held yesterday. One of the recommendations that'll come to you and the City Council here soon is mill and overlay work, which came in a little bit above what was expected or what budgeted, but that's something that you have the ability to kind of transfer into a new budget year.
And that's probably what will happen. This is 11th Street from Monroe to Lincoln Street, and that's a 9-block area. It was decided that we will move that down to a 7-block area just because of the increased costs that we have experienced. It actually came in at about $177,000 over estimated budget. And it, again, is because of work that the contractors have already put into place. And unfortunately, they can somewhat demand what the price is going to be. Now, it doesn't mean we have to accept it, but again, there was a bit of a compromise that was put into place here, and that will come before the City Council for the approval. And I think that is going to be in the neighborhood of 400 and. I can't remember the exact amount of dollars.
430 or somewhere
something like that, 430,000. But that will roll over into the next budget year, just to allow us ample time to have again a bit of a war chest so we can pay for this.
One of the other bids that the council will consider soon is what is one of the major projects for this year, and that's the 4th Street work from Grant to Lincoln, and then on Lincoln from 4th to 5th. That is going to be a concrete project, as I understand.
It is, and that contract has been awarded to Teeman Construction. We had a couple of bids for that project. I think we had 3 bids total, and that came in at $214,000. And that project, again, we hope will begin either yet this spring or early summer, and hope to have it completed, I don't know, within maybe a 2-month period of time.
Yeah. Asphalt oil prices, is that impacting prices regarding
It will,
mill?
but we have already accepted some bids for that.
I see.
So I think we are locked in at this point. The asphalting project that you're talking about is, there's various locations. I think it's on 12th Street, 13th, 14th, from Lincoln to Garfield, Arthur to Lincoln, and Washington to Hoyt. And those prices, we actually took those bids back in January and accepted a bid from Topcoat out of Yankton, South Dakota for about $66,000. So we've pretty much got that locked in.
Yeah. A couple of projects that don't happen all that often are paving district ones where the property owners seek paving. And I think one of them is to finish out, Prairie Avenue, and then there's an alley project near Garfield.
Right, and that is going to be an asphalt proposition, but the property owners are actually going to turn around and pay for it. Now, they have a period of time in which they can pay for it. Usually 7 to 10 years is the norm.
Before we take a break here, how's the police chief search coming?
Good. We've received 17 applications.
Wow.
And we have narrowed that down to 8 of the individuals that applied. And the processes of interviews will begin not next week, but the week after. And that will be an all-day interview process of all 8 candidates, if we can get them all scheduled for that period of time. There will be a set of police chiefs in other communities that will interview them first, then the Civil Service Commission, and some public people from the public who will also interview them. I think the first round of interviews is on the 15th of March. The 16th will be the Civil Service Commission, who will then submit their top 3 candidates. And then the second round of interviews will come before the mayor and city council on, I believe it's March 29th. And then we hope to have a new police chief appointed by April 18th.
Of the 8 finalists, what's your assessment of their qualifications? Are they pretty highly qualified?
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
Some of them are from in-state, some are from out-of-state.
Who's the farthest away? Anybody? You get somebody from any state? Like,
Oh, God, Doug, you're taxing my memory now.
That's all right. Thought I'd throw that out there.
There's no prize for it.
Yeah, I know.
For submitting an
no lottery
application.
tickets or anything coming your way. So.
There isn't.
Yeah, you got to play morning trivia to do that.
Exactly.
So, okay. Well, we'll wait and see. All right. Mayor Stan Wirth with us. We'll be back to wrap up our program next. Back on Ask the Mayor to wrap up today with Mayor Stan Wirth. We did get a question in during the break. Is what are the infrastructure plans and timing for associated with the new pre-K through elementary building? I'm assuming they're thinking, are there entrance changes, street changes that would work into that?
And the answer is yes.
Okay.
There will be. Now, we are having a study done of Lincoln Street. That will be a thoroughfare that goes right to where the new proposed facility is going to be located. And that study we hope to have done by middle of June, end of June, something like that. And that will take into consideration not only the 19th and Lincoln intersection, but also further out. And some of that work has already been completed by, I believe, Olson and Associates. As far as ingress, egress, not sure exactly where the location of the school is going to be, the proposed school. But stay tuned. We'll have more information.
All right. You did an employee recognition event.
Yeah, we did last Friday night, and it was a fun event, very well attended. I think we had 150, maybe 160 individuals there, and employees that do a really good job for their departments and an outstanding job for the city of Beatrice. And we had a couple of milestones that we recognized. Tommy Rudder, who has been with the water department for 35 years. That's longevity that is really important to a department like that. Just fully well knowing the system and fully well knowing when there is an issue, how you're going to handle it. The top individual was Diana Smith, who is manager of the airport, who has been with the city now 50 years.
Wow,
and she will retire, I think, September 1st of this year. So certainly want to congratulate Diana on the job that she has done for the city, and a job well done for the airport authority.
That may be one of those records that's not broken. That one would be tough to reach.
It's going to be tough to reach, without a doubt.
Yeah. Just a couple of things left today to talk about. One way, I think we mentioned a few weeks back, but didn't really spend a lot of time on it. You're facing, roof replacement at the public library? We
are, and we're hoping to have that done by around the first part of the third quarter. And that is going to be a pretty big project. The specs are being written as we speak. Matter of fact, I visited with the Public Properties Director, Mark Petha, just yesterday, and he's putting the specs together. We have 3 contractors that are interested in doing the work, so to that end, we've got good interest, and we're going to move forward with it and try to get it done yet this year.
Two of the things we always think of as new are the library and the water park, but you look back, they've been here a while.
Exactly. I was just thinking about Beatrice Community Hospital the other day because of another meeting that I had, and they've been there since 2011,
Yeah.
believe it or not.
Time flies, doesn't
It
it?
certainly does.
Gets back to that 40 years of being an employee or 50 or whatever it is. It all goes along with it. Moves in the same direction. So, one of the things you still have yet to finalize as far as an ordinance that regulates food trucks. I know you've had some discussion on that and some adjustments and taking out some
Right.
things on that. Where are you at?
Quite a few adjustments. It will be on the City Council agenda on Monday night. The proposed ordinance will be coming before the City Council, is a scaled-down version of what we originally started with, and it was changed quite dramatically simply because of public input and input from some of the food truck vendors. And so what we're going to put into place, or what is recommended that we put into place, is an ordinance that will only affect those trucks operating on city-owned property. It's no different than if the swap meet is going to be located in Chautauqua Park. Well, there's some information that we gather before that actually happens. And so that's what we're going to do. There will be an annual permit that will be offered, or a weekly permit that will be offered. And at this point, I don't know exactly how much city administration work actually goes into that, whether or not we will charge a fee. A fee isn't even being proposed for Monday night, but that could change when it comes before the council.
Maybe just some nominal thing to cover whatever costs you might have.
Could be, but I think the reason we are putting some type of regulations on public-owned property is because of the zoning ordinances. A mobile food truck can be allowed anywhere a restaurant is allowed today, and the only requirement really then after that is that there is a 2,000 square foot space for the food truck, for individuals to navigate from one side to the other of the food truck, any outdoor seating that is provided, and there should be some off-street parking. That's kind of the direction that we're going to go.
As far as approval of permits, if the last discussion you had is that the annual ones would go before the council, but anything lesser
Correct.
than that is handled administratively.
That is correct.
Okay.
Right.
And food trucks are coming out again, so
Well, they are.
a lot of it's,
the Amigos truck is located just to the north of McDonald's, and just as an example, that space is large enough that you could actually put 9 food trucks and also have some off-street parking. So, and that's what we were really looking for, is some off-street parking. Parking is not allowed on that particular street, either on Highway 77 or Monroe Street. So there has to be some type of off-street parking. But that's private property, so we're not going to do anything with that property. It's public property.
the brewery continues to make use of
They will.
Food trucks. There's one down there the other day. And,
Right.
it's big, they've become popular, and it's this kind of a nice option for a place that, in their case, where they don't have food on site or whatever.
It's a bit eclectic, and it's something that has grown in popularity and more than likely will continue to.
Yeah. Maybe just touch on the legislative session. They're in the second half of their session now, past the 30-day mark of the 60 days. Anything in particular you're watching as far as the municipality?
Well, one is Matt Hansen's bill, LB 821. That is a bill that would provide aid to municipalities to provide some different grants to them for different types of infrastructure within the municipalities. Quite frankly, I'm not sure where it is. I think committee work has stopped or will stop this week, and then they go into open session on the floor to discuss different items, decide whether or not they like each other or not, because that's usually where you get the back and forth. But it's something that we've been watching, whether or not this is something that is viable. The grants are up to $5 million, so you could do a lot of work with that, but they are limited to water distribution facilities and water infrastructure and things like that, not streets.
A lot of the success or lack of success on bills this time of year deals with whether or not it's been named a senator, speaker, or committee priority. So anything else beyond that, it's kind of touch and go as to whether or not it'll
Goes
get
to the
through.
tail end.
Yeah, this session. So mentioned earlier in the program just about the speaker at the NGage annual meeting, which was this week. Of course, NGage is going to be seeking a new executive director because Trevor Lee has accepted the position with Buffalo County Economic Development Agency in Kearney. Kind of gets back to his home area,
Right.
where his family is at. You've gone through this a few times, where you have to, a director comes along and then a couple, 3 years, 4 years later, there's some turnover there. As far as the type of individual you're searching for and how much interest you might see in this position, you're on that board. So how do you think that will
I'm
go?
actually an ex officio member
Excellent,
of
okay.
that board, but we do have a city representative, Rick Claybaugh, who is a member of the board of NGage. If I can't be there, certainly keeps us informed of what's going on. But we're looking for somebody that has some experience in economic development, who is well connected with other economic developers, not only in the state of Nebraska, but around the country. That is extremely important to have those connections and to be able to get on the phone and call somebody and say, I've got a situation that has come up, and how do I handle this? We have one application at this point. That individual has 4 years of experience. We hate to lose Trevor because Trevor is really getting to a point where he is gaining some traction, very well connected. Matter of fact, Dean Barber, who is from Dallas-Fort Worth, who was the speaker the other night, who is an economic developer himself, spent some time with Trevor and indicated to us that we're losing a really good element to our community. But we hope to replace Trevor with someone of equal knowledge and equal experience, and is aggressive enough that we don't have to hold his hand. He can go out and visit with folks and try to get new business and industry here.
All right, Stan, we're out of time. Thanks for coming in again.
Thanks,
today.
Doug.